Now, when I say rich, you say Brian. Rich, 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 rich.
One of the most inspiring stories of the decade comes from 20-year-old Indonesian Chinese rapper Brian Emanuel. Much of who he is now is built upon his compassion in internet culture, going as far as learning another language from it. While initially more subtle with his Asian identity, he has come full circle to embracing it. From a homeschooled loner to the face of Idiot Rising, he has captivated the world with his pink polo and fanny pack. This is the rise of Rich Brian.
Hey, I'm putting numbers on the board and blowing more digits. I haven't started, man, these are just the before pictures. Shout out my parents, my mother gave birth to 4 winners. All of the players in the game, it's always called benches. Been in the studio, I forgot how to sleep. Not trying to make an album, they forget about in a week. They said the fruit never gonna fall far from the tree. I used to be the kid, now the kids wanna be me.
Born September 3rd, 1999 in Jakarta, Indonesia, Brian was not an academically bright kid. His only experience of formal education has been limited to elementary school, as his parents would pull him out and put him into homeschooling. Possibly due to them being too busy to drive them to school, and that, according to his sister, Brian was an antisocial freak. After pulling Brian out of school, his parents themselves would assign homework to him, while still spending most of their time working the cafe that they ran. This would go on for 2 years until they suddenly stopped, where Brian would then find himself at home every day with his parents' computer. Due to his lack of friends, especially as he did not attend school, Brian would often find himself feeling lonely. He had picked up a Rubik's Cube and began using the internet for strategies on how to solve it, discovering YouTube, where he began listening to Childish Gambino, Macklemore, and Tyler the Creator. Simultaneously, Brian also joined Twitter, making some of his only friends at the time. Here is where Brian would develop his sense of humor that would captivate an audience around the world.
My name is Brian. I'm 16 years old and I have kushophilia. I am fully addicted to kush. I do it in many different ways. I smoke it, I vaporize it, and I plug it up my butt.
Joining Twitter, Rich Brian would create dark comedy sketches.
It was just a normal day.
I've been so fucking depressed, you know what I mean?
You don't want to give up now. Cutie.
I'm getting out of here.
He would take them more seriously as a way to promote his music and videos. As Brian explored American culture, his sense of humor would be developed by American comedy, specifically through watching Dave Chappelle, chick flick comedy movies, and what people said on the internet. Vines were becoming popular at the time, and Brian would find himself joining it at just 15 years old, where he would post Vines daily. The same year, Brian would meet an American friend online. He would introduce Brian to Thrift Shop by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, the first song Brian would try rapping to. His friend, whom he talked every day on Skype, and rapping helped Brian improve his pronunciation with English. Brian explored and loved the hip-hop genre in 2012, discovering Drake, 2 Chainz, Kanye West, and Logic. Inspired by these artists, he would play around and make his first rap song in 2014 using an iPhone. His music career would begin under the alias Rich Chigga, releasing his first song, Living the Dream, on July 17, 2015. Dumbfounded was the first rapper to follow him on Twitter, asking for his number and connecting him to his manager, Sean Miyashiro, the CEO of Cash Only, which would later become Idiot Rising. Brian would sign a contract shortly after and fly to America to meet with Sean. He would release Dat Stick almost a year later on March 11, 2016. It would gain international attention after 88 Rising released a video of American rappers reacting and praising Dat Stick.
This is the hardest nigga of all time.
Yeah. You probably think it's some big, like this kid, yo, show my man real quick what he looks like. This kid is like 16, his voice is mad deep. He don't look nothing like he sound. It was dope though. It was really dope. He was spitting.
It was perfect. He should never change. He should get more dad. You know what I'm saying?
They dead ass here.
Ghostface Killah would go as far as to remix the song as a sign of respect.
Dope. That's dope. That's dope. And I'll get on that track. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Really, on the remix?
Yeah. Oh, you know him?
Doing the remix. Yeah, I manage him.
All right, cool. Nah, tell him I said much love. I appreciate that. But yeah.
It took the world by surprise as such a young Asian artist with that specific wardrobe, especially as he was skinny as shit, could create such a hard and heavy song. A lot of buzz was surrounding Rich Brian's last-minute wardrobe choice in the video, with the polo shirt and fanny pack, the classic dad look, which would form his character of Rich Chiga. People praised his satirical use of his wardrobe as he rapped with lyrics about murder.
Yo, this nigga got a pouch on and a Reebok pouch. His polo was buttoned up. The Reebok pouch shit was crazy. You need to get a sponsorship.
I don't know what the hell he was thinking. He got a goddamn fanny pack on right there. Hell nah.
However, Rich Brian releasing Dat Stick would not go without its criticism, where many have called out his offensive stage name with a combination of slangs used for Asians and African Americans. He was also called out for his use of the N-word, as well as cultural appropriation. Despite the controversy, however, although Brian does ultimately regret his use of the N-word in Dat Stick, he would still leave it in if given a chance to redo it. Around this time, Brian didn't embrace his Asian identity in the environment of American culture, believing his race shouldn't matter. Instead, he believed in seeing people and art for what they truly are. Trying to stay away from his past character as Rich Chiga and to be taken more seriously as an artist, he would release single after single, such as Who That Be? A song where Brian wanted to go against the grain of turn-up songs in hip-hop, where people don't care about what the lyrics discuss as they only care about the beat.
So glossy, goddamn bitch. I don't smoke no gas, I don't pop no zest. Hella cake, I just need that ass, don't worry about.
He mentioned how he would still do turn-up songs from time to time, but will ultimately do something different in a different time. Something deep, foreshadowing his future. Other notable singles are 17, the first time producing a song on his own,
Never worry about a single hating motherfucker looking like my next supper. All these moves that I'm making got people.
and Gospel, featuring
XXX Tentacion.
and Key 8,
Niggas move like hoes on did it, bitch, yeah. I won't put a fucking hole in your fitted, bitch, yeah. Run the jet, little Lord, bitch, I'm with it, bitch.
Glow Like That is released, showing a new side of him, trading in tough guy lyrics for more heartfelt lines, discussing a short-lived, long-distance, online relationship.
You go through my mind all day, all night, it feels like immigration. One of these days I'll fuck around and book a flight to Manhattan. Don't wanna see you go, but I do the same as you. Don't see why you would go back to see me when you didn't wanna hurt my feelings, but I couldn't get a clue. Didn't wanna see perceiving about the things that you pursue.
It was his most lyrical and poetic song thus far. Up to this point, this was his first and only relationship. Due to controversy surrounding his stage name, Rich Chiga, he would then change his name to Rich Brian on January 1st, 2018. He stated that he does regret his original name and that he didn't know what he was doing. He would continue producing and appearing on singles such as Crisis and 21 Savage.
Yeah, wake up about a 6, think about money, think about this. I got nothing on my wrist, but
Hell nah.
And 18, alongside Chris Wu, Joji, Trippie Redd, and Bauer.
tell your check I like her, take it on my like her. And I'm always stacking paper, but my name ain't Michael.
With fans eagerly awaiting his next project, Rich Brian announced on Twitter his debut album would release February 2nd, 2018. Rich Brian released his debut album, Amen, reaching number 18 on the Billboard 200 in its first week, also making history by being the first Asian artist-released album to top the iTunes hip-hop chart. While there may be some lighthearted material within the album, it was ultimately his introduction to more serious rap. He intended for listeners to realize that Rich Brian, as an artist, was not a joke. The album went on to have rather favorable reviews, with critics and fans agreeing that it was a solid album. However, there was definitely some room for growth and improvement as an artist, especially with it only being his debut album. July 26, 2019, Rich Brian's second, most recent album, The Sailor, is released. It becomes well received, with people praising Brian's artistic growth and evolution in his musical style. On his previous album, Amen, he focused more on the sounds and flow rather than the message of the song, much like he did for Dat Stick. He had felt limited in topics he could make songs on in Amen as well, such as sex, getting money, and doing shows. With the creation of The Sailor, he found more topics to explore and make songs about, such as relationships and family. He explores more of these new topics through Curious, where he discusses his homesickness, missing his mother, and coming to America.
I miss my family, miss my home. Wish I could visit a little more. The journey's 20 hours, flight too long. I only get to see him on my phone. Time does fly. I went from good wine to seeing tears in my mom's eyes. I don't blame her though. She used to feed me, now I live alone.
The album ultimately comes down to two meanings according to Brian. One of them being a personal journey of his rise as an artist, coming to another country, exploring his curiosity, and facing his fears, just as a sailor. The second meaning is a metaphor for people coming from other countries for the opportunity of living a better life, which was especially inspired by Asian American parents and grandparents.
I won't lie, this shit is fun. Tell these Asian kids they could do what they want. Might steal the mic at the Grammys just to say we won. That everyone can make it, don't matter where you from.
While it does mostly come down to it being about Asian identity, it is definitely for everybody. Unlike his previous album, Amen, The Sailor actually features as much of Brian's rapping as his singing. A prime example being his favorite song on the album, Drive Safe, where it is just him singing alone on top of a guitar.
All these thoughts I have in my head got me blinded from the sunset. I'm trying hard to stop the rain, 'cause smiling doesn't feel the same.
Brian actually always wanted to do melodic stuff, but feared that perhaps it wasn't who he was. Even his rapping alone has changed, as he no longer deepens his voice to convey the tough guy persona he played before. At this point, which Brian had become so well known, he had become an icon to his home of Indonesia, where Indonesian President Jokowi had invited him to the Bogor Presidential Palace, where they discussed and played his music for the upcoming album at the time, The Sailor. Rich Brian is an inspiration to behold and is an icon to Asian identity. With so many barriers to overcome, he had developed significantly as an artist, from the pink polo and fanny pack wearing kid in Dat Stick to the representation of Asian identity in The Sailor. As he continues to sail in search of development of his music style, there is no doubt Rich Brian is an artist to eagerly prepare ourselves for, as he has duped the audience worldwide, time and time again. He went from having no friends, now he's singing on stages. Thanks for watching this video. It's been a long time in progress since like late December. Although I haven't been able to work on it much with school though, until the past week or so with quarantine and stuff. This is my first time really trying to make a genuine video, especially an essay type of video. I'm hoping I can do more of these, especially now that the world has more time than ever. Since I'm still beginning and learning, I'll be sticking with simpler topics such as the history of musicians and stuff like that. Eventually, I'd love to dive into stuff like philosophy and ethics like self-worth, Buddhism, and consumption of media. We'll see though. I think I have a lot of learning to do before conquering those type of topics. I also wanted to shout out the channels that inspired me to start making these type of videos, Mr. Amazing and Daco. I'll leave their links in the description and I strongly encourage you to check them out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed and stick around for what I have in the future. I'll see you next time.